Hey everybody, I'm pleased to announce that this episode is brought to you by New Masters Academy, the world's #1 online art school. So check out the link below for a free 7-day trial. Thanks so much, New Masters Academy. What are you doing? Hey everybody, welcome back to the Honey and Absinthe After Hours podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Vincent, a background designer for animation.
And I'm Janet, the ex-Disney artist turned independent creator, and this is a podcast about all things art, business, and whatever we feel like.
Today, what are we talking about? Today we're talking about how to find your style.
Yeah, this was actually a topic suggested by one of our listeners.
Thanks so much for the question.
Yeah, so we're going to be covering that topic today. And if you guys ever want us to have a whole hour-long conversation about something specific that you want to address about art, business,
leave in the comments below.
Yeah, leave in the comments below or email us. That's the quickest way for us to see it. So, so let's get started.
All right. So, Janet, how did you find your style? What do you even think about style?
Well, I think we should start from the beginning.
All the way back to the beginning?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I think it's important. I think that's where everyone actually finds their art style. If you have one. I don't know if I have one. I am still working on it, actually. But when I was young, I think we covered this in the anime podcast, actually. Yeah. But I grew up with Sailor Moon, and I drew a lot of Sailor Moon. I'd copy it, and really poorly. I don't think I have the drawings anymore because I think my mom threw away all my old drawings. I grew up with anime, specifically shoujo anime, and that's how I like to draw for a really long time. And since I don't think I was ever given none of my art teachers at that time in like elementary school, middle school, high school ever told me that drawing anime was bad. I think they just didn't care.
Yeah, it's just cartoons. Yeah. Cartoons are cartoons.
Yeah.
And when we saw a few episodes of what was it, Yu Yu Hakusho?
Yeah.
And I couldn't help but think like Janet, and say Janet, those look exactly like your characters.
Yeah, there's something so innate about like just simply the things in the cartoons that you watch growing up from before you even remember drawing. I probably drew so much as a little kid, but I don't remember any of it really, except for one or a few moments. But that really kind of sticks in you, even if you don't remember. You don't consciously know that you're picking this up, so that it's something that you can't really get rid of. And I've tried, because growing up, all I wanted was to be able to draw these anime and Final Fantasy type characters exactly like I saw it, because I thought it was so cool, and I was never able to accomplish that style.
What turned you on to that? Because I'm fascinated by what about where you were at as a little kid made you fascinated by those types of characters. Was it because they were so pretty and sleek and
mostly because they're pretty, I think. Because even the male characters in Final Fantasy are all so pretty, and I was really into Asian MMOs. Like in the last podcast, we talk all about it, and they all kind of have a very like feminine look to them. And also, I learned all my character design language up until then from things like Final Fantasy, from MMOs. So all my designs at the time were like, I liked heeled boots, even though, you know, in a RPG world, you should not be wearing heeled boots.
Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
No.
It's just for the sake of aesthetics.
Yeah. And I like fancy armor, zippers, and buckles where they shouldn't be.
Zippers where you would never put anything inside the pocket.
Yeah, so I still have like a guilty obsession with that kind of design. I'm never going to hate it. It's fun. And so growing up, it wasn't that I was trying to find my style ever. I just wanted to be good. I just wanted to be capable of drawing in that style, and I don't think I ever accomplished it because my taste changed. by the time I got to college. But before that, what about you?
How I got into drawing, also from the previous podcast, I think the anime one where I talked about how I got into Pokemon because my relatives from Japan gave me this care package where it had like a VHS that showed basically everybody what the Pokemon brand is and the trading cards and the games. So as soon as I got that, I was really, really into that look. Just into Pokemon. I didn't really put together in that time that like, oh, Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Pokemon, they're all made in Japan. No, I just thought they were just cartoons to me. Yeah. So when I was a kid, I would draw Ash Ketchum and Pikachu, and I would have a lot of fun just drawing those characters and designing my own Pokemon. I feel like a lot of kids, especially like in our age demographic, have had fun drawing or creating their own Pokemon. So that's how I got into like an anime style, and from there I obviously learned not long after that this was a thing. This was a thing that there's a whole culture behind this, and I was eager to sink my teeth into this stuff. So like I mentioned in the previous podcast, I would go to libraries because that was my best way of finding things. That my family didn't really have internet or cable until a lot later. So at this point, I had to go to the libraries and scour like really old Dark Horse comics. They would publish like I guess a lot of seinen manga, but like I would get those, just all sorts of stuff, and then I would have a lot of fun. Not necessarily copying the characters. Like I would do it all the time to just practice. I had a binder full of like just characters that I would copy and learn from. But my favorite parts were like taking bits and pieces of like this Shaman King style, let's say, with this other style. And then just kind of mixing and matching stuff and turning it into my own thing and making my own characters and making my own comic. And then sooner than I know it, I adopted a style. I was really into the manga, anime, Japanese thing. So I'd be drawing that all the time, and like the way I felt about other styles is interesting. It's not like just because I drew an anime doesn't mean I couldn't appreciate Ed, and Eddie or Dexter's Lab or Powerpuff Girls. Like I loved all that stuff, but there's just something about the style of anime and just the amazing line work in manga, you know, that like really makes it so that like you as a kid go, oh, I want to get that good. I want to draw like that.
There's something about anime for me that was just really cool. Because you're right. Like it's not like I didn't like all the Western cartoons at the time. Like
they were great. The Western cartoons when we were growing up, fantastic.
I really liked Powerpuff Girls a lot. I drew those characters a lot. I remember being really like fascinated when they like aged up. They had like a teenage episode where they like turned into teenagers, and I thought like, oh, that's so cool. There's nothing you like more to see when you're a little kid than seeing your favorite cartoon characters. They tend to be older than you. They're not like your age. That you look up to them in a way, like, oh, I want to be them when I grow up. For me, I really liked like that really like Sailor Moon, shoujo, big eyes, pointy, iconic shapes for things.
And I was really into the shonen, like obviously big eyes, really cutesy, handsome boys and girls with really like actiony, like floofy hair. Always with the hair. You know?
And then I think around middle school and on, I got a lot more into like anime realism, so like Final Fantasy. So like that's the age where I started getting really into like anatomy and how to construct a face properly, but like I still didn't really know how. I was just learning it from like Final Fantasy or MMOs and stuff like that. So I developed this weird like mix between like actual real life humans and an anime version of them. Did you ever hate your style or any style growing up?
I don't think I ever hated my own style because I was just constantly trying to kit bash styles.
Right.
It's my favorite thing. So because I'm constantly mashing styles together, and I still feel like I do that in different ways, even in my professional work, where I'm taking the old and the new and on all of that kind of stuff. But when I was growing up, I was still finding a style, I guess, but I didn't really hate other styles. Like I watched everything as long as it was a moving picture cartoon, like a moving character or drawing. I was really into it. It didn't matter if it was, 80s Ninja Turtle stuff or Rugrats. That's a completely different look. Or Ed, Edd and Eddy, or anime, like pick any anime, Gundam, Inuyasha, anything. I was really into it as long as it moved and it was like pictures and drawings. I was very, very into it. I wasn't, I didn't have any kind of prejudice. I really don't. I mean, there are patterns that I see a little too much. Yeah. But everybody's trying to be as profitable and as appealing as possible. Yeah. So that it is what it is for right now, but I'm hoping things would change, but I don't really, I don't know.
For me, it wasn't that like I hated my own style growing up. It was more like I felt like I could never accomplish what I wanted. Because I would look at
me too,
anime and video games and all these things, and I had a very like narrow view of art and design at the time, like we all do when we're kids, because we're kids. We don't have that much life experience. But I would look at the few people out there at the time, mostly on DeviantArt. And
DeviantArt.
Yeah. And I would be like, man, that I like that and I like that and I like that, but I don't necessarily want to draw like specifically one person.
Oh, let's give DeviantArt a moment here.
Oh, okay. You're like having a nostalgic moment.
Because it's like, I don't know. How would you describe, because it's completely different now. They rebranded, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 times by now, but what was DeviantArt like back then for you? Because for me, it was like obviously an image board, but people, oh my gosh, there would be people like, critique my art and like posting stuff on the forums, and oh man, I'm just getting really nostalgic.
For me, I had no idea how to use it.
The glomps. You don't remember the glomp?
Oh, I remember the glomp.
It's cute. That was a cute little emoji. So the glomp was this like emoji,
where it looks
surprising,
like you're hugging someone.
A surprise hug.
I never figured out how to use DeviantArt.
Really?
Yeah, I would like put my art at the time on it, and I didn't know how to engage with other people. I was so young and dumb that I would just put my art up there and then like wait. And then when you're a little, I don't know how old, 14.
Yeah.
I didn't know how to, no one would comment because my art wasn't good. And I didn't know how to use the forums. And I felt like I didn't know what to say too if I were to comment, so I would just kind of like use it as like what people use Pinterest for now. I would save art just to have it as like a library, because when I realized I could save it and I can go back to it and like look at it in awe, that's what I did most of the time. I just had my art on there.
Yeah, I think I did that too.
And I tried really hard to make my profile look good.
So I was about to say this too, like we're so old, like, but in that MySpace DeviantArt era, there was a heavy emphasis on when you visit my page, the whole look of it and design of it, for better or for worse, is me, my fault or my design, whatever it is. But like, man, that was so crazy, because I was about to say, like, I really did design the layout of, like, it was more restrictive than MySpace. MySpace was literally like you could do whatever. It was the Wild West. But then but for DeviantArt, you could just like move the little widget, like chart things around.
Yeah, I remember, like it was back when you're young too. You put like random stuff like your age and like little icons, like drawings of yourself,
pictures of you, holding anime swords.
I completely do not remember what I did to mine, but I remember at the time I liked everything cute and bubbly. So. Yeah. What was your experience with DeviantArt?
Oh, no, yeah. When I first started DeviantArt, I was like, okay, cool. This is really neat. I'm an artist. I'm going to post my stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, it didn't take me long. I mean, like, the first thing you think is like, oh, the more people who follow and like my stuff, the better. And it's just like, that's the most primal, primitive thing of like, oh, okay, the more followers I have, the more I feel like people like my art or whatever it is. But then I really like the joy. I like the DeviantArt community at the time was really funny. They were really funny. And I'm not sure if they're like super toxic now, but I just remember they would like come in and critique almost like they were doing homework for art class or something. Yeah, like
nice.
That would happen to me a lot. Where like, oh, I really like the shading on the thing, blah 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 blah. And then sometimes they would like insert like, oh, I think you should do this to improve. As I'm like, who are you? Like, who are you again? But I thought it was really, really cool that like people were like treating it like a gallery.
Yeah.
It really, I don't know. In my mind, it felt like I was putting my art up in a room, and then people were going, yes, yeah.
I mean, it kind of is. It's still what it's kind of like on Instagram or whatever. At least you got comments. I don't remember getting comments at all. I was just like, I don't know how this works. I'm a dumb kid. Yeah, I would see all these really talented artists on DeviantArt, and I'd be like, I love all these people's art, but I don't necessarily want to draw like any one specific one. Like you said, it's kind of like a combination of like, I like the way this person does this and this person does that, and then you kind of like mash it all together at that age. I would kit bash all these different styles all together, and I would never be as good as I wanted to be. Like it would kind of look like what I had in my head, but it would never be as good as like obviously this 20-something professional artist that I idolized at the time or whatever. And I wouldn't hate myself, but I'd just be disappointed. I'd be like, man, I wish I knew what I was doing, and I wish I had a style like these people that I looked up to seemed to had everything figured out.
Interesting.
I think is more accurately.
That's interesting. I never felt that way because I had this weird blind faith that if I just kept drawing, I'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt frustrated, and because I never really was seeking out a style anyway. I never felt the need that I needed to have something right now.
Yeah.
You know, I really like the searching.
I think it wasn't that I needed something like right now, right at that moment. It was more like I just wish I was better at drawing. I think at the end of the day, I mean, like what it was.
But everybody.
Yeah, we still wish we're better at drawing.
Like if we could draw the way we do now, and we were 8, we'd be like, oh my god, this is amazing. This is the best. But then like we never feel it's never gonna feel that way. Ever. Yeah. So we. Artists out there, just accept it.
Yeah.
Like and I have a hard time accepting it too. It's just like I want to be a certain way, but then it's just like you just have to work on it brick by brick, you know? It's not like you can just jump and get there.
Yeah. And then so things change very drastically in college though. Mm-hmm. So like that was us growing up, and everything's very like internal, where you put all your disappointment or your learning on yourself, and you're kind of free to do whatever you want. And any kind of problems with art style don't really come up until college. I would say.
I think so.
For me, I had not a super hard time with transitioning from like this weird Final Fantasy anime look to more academic drawing and painting. Because I already was in high school. I went out of my way to take community college classes, and one of them was figure drawing. So I already really appreciated just the realistic way of drawing, that more academic way of drawing, especially because I had I had an Asian art teacher that like cracked the whip on me and made sure that I knew how to render and paint things realistically, which is why I don't enjoy doing that now. But I did know a lot of people who really struggled with foundations in art school, because it's all about like taking away your individuality, your any kind of art style, and learning.
I adore that phase.
Me too.
Yeah. Because it was just like, I don't know how I understood this, but I just felt like, oh, if I just get good at this style, which basically is like the foundational, the building blocks of what makes good style is good foundation, I would say.
Yeah.
So if I just got kind of good at this, everything I do that's more stylized will get better too.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see how people who are known to draw a certain way, for example, like it's simply like that maybe a person enjoys drawing like cartoon strips, but then feels uncomfortable when they have to draw a nude figure, and can't really like turn on that academic part of their brain where they're really trying to analyze what they're seeing. Because the pleasure comes from drawing in their style. So I that's unfortunate.
I saw a lot of that, and you can't get away too with like us millennials. We grew up with anime, and it's like I said before, it's inherent in how we draw. There's no way you can take the anime out of us, even if you tried. And there were a lot of teachers who tried. And it's the most frustrating thing. I remember I was working so hard to extinguish that part of me, because everyone was telling me, you need to learn how to draw accurately. You have to learn how the human body works and the head works and all these things. And I was really like, yeah, I understand. I need to learn these things. I need to get good at it so that when I do design something, it looks convincing.
Right.
And I worked weeks after weeks going to workshops and figure drawing classes and all this stuff. And then I thought at one point that I had gotten rid of it. And one of my teachers in college was like, stop drawing like anime. And I was just like, at this point, I think I had been in art school for like 2 or 3 years at that point. And I was just like, really? I've worked 2 or 3 years nonstop on trying to get rid of this aspect of myself, of who I am and like how I draw.
Your roots.
And it's just, it comes out no matter what I did. So it's something that like I think a lot of other people have. I kind of have like, I look at these teachers as very like closed-minded sometimes, but it's not like I hate them. Like I know some of our classmates really do, because they're like, you're full of shit.
Yeah, it's hard because when you love a style so much like anime, it does behoove you to learn some good in anime, or even go outside your box. And you and I have taken so many classes where we're encouraged to really analyze and study somebody. Like, for example, I would talk to you all the time about Gail's illustration class at school, and how we were... She had a whole list of fantastic illustrators, and week by week we would study ones who were fantastic inkers. Some that would use color pencil, some that would use cutout, like paper cutouts for art. And there's so much to learn, and the more you kind of adventure outside of your bubble, the more your art is going to be more colorful, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, everybody. If you love movies, I have an audiobook to recommend to you. It's called Making Movies by Sidney Lumet, one of my favorite directors. He directed 12 Angry Men, Failsafe, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, A Dog Day Afternoon. So many fantastic movies. And he goes through his process chapter by chapter. He talks about lenses, budgeting for a film, what it's like directing actors. So if you want to learn from a really, really fantastic director, one of Hollywood's finest, check out Making Movies by Sidney Lumet.
Yeah, and you can read it, listen to it on audible.com, and we have an Audible trial for you, audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast, where you will get 1 free audiobook and 2 free Audible original audiobooks. So 3 Audible 3 audiobooks in total.
Okay.
And it's a free trial, and if you sign up, it is completely for free. If you decide to continue to pay for it, it helps us out at no extra cost to you. So if you want to support this channel, go sign up for your free Audible trial. And it's such a great resource for podcasts, meditation, news, everything. It's actually more than just audiobooks. A lot of people don't know that. And they have many, many titles. I listen while I run. Sometimes I listen just for fun. And it beats reading, honestly. Who has time to read anymore? So check out audibletrial.com/the Honey and Absinthe podcast. I know you want to listen to it. Like, for example, I didn't appreciate the naive style of art or even the more graphic style of art until I was forced to do it. I was very about like volumetric drawing and everything. In I would say the like DreamWorks Disney-esque way at the time. And and at the time all our teachers were really forcing down our throats this like animation style.
And I don't think that's hyperbole. They were literally making sure we were inundated in that stuff.
Like we had a teacher that made us copy Chris Sanders and a bunch of different like animation artists that are popular in animation, like their styles and that kind of thing. And I've told like some like directors this before, and they get like surprised and a little bit like peeved because they're like, why would for a growing artist, why would you make them copy someone else's style? Because then you like take away your individuality and you don't really understand why you like you only know what's marketable and you don't appreciate your individuality, I think is like their problems with it. But I forgot where I was going with this.
Well, I see, I don't mind because I grew up with like kit bashing and learning and just being fascinated with how this person draws this and how they draw that. I really liked those exercises at school, and I knew saw them as exercises. It's not like people do burpees when they play basketball. Like these are all things that to help everyone get stronger.
I remember.
Okay.
I didn't appreciate like the naive flat styles because our teachers were forcing
volumetric
drawing. Yeah. But it wasn't until I interned at Blind, the production studio in Santa Monica.
Emmy award winning.
Yeah. They're mostly Christo is a graphic designer, and like a lot of the people who work in advertising are very good with graphic design, and they appreciate flat design. And because like you think about the history of graphic designers, you have a lot of like oh god, I'm blanking on his name, Saul Bass, and a lot of more like really striking graphic imagery and like the Bauhaus era of art. So he forced me as like an intern project whenever I wasn't working on an actual commercial project and I had a lot of free time. He would expect that we keep learning and keep working. So he gave me this assignment where I had to design these worlds in this very specific flat style, and I had to reverse engineer and figure out how to do it. And it's something that I was completely uncomfortable with before that point. But after I had done so much work on this project, I became really in love with naive art and in love with flat graphic design, and like, for example, I think a lot of people don't understand why someone like Mary Blair if you don't know, she's a famous Disney designer.
Yeah, and quickly, if you want to know what that looks like, think of It's a Small World.
Yeah, at Disneyland. And I never used to understand that style and why it's good and why it's beautiful, and I couldn't appreciate it. But it was through broadening my horizons at art school and like really doing it for myself. Like, you don't truly understand how hard it is to do someone else's like style, even if you don't like it. Like, it's actually more important to try out a style that you don't like compared to trying styles that you do like.
Yeah, that everything that you explained sounds almost exactly to a T my experience learning how to draw in that storyboard pen style, like Sharpie pen style. So very similarly, and I talked about this in a previous podcast, but when after I graduated, obviously I've been drawing in that very animation-y, volumetric, progresso style for a good 3 years, and then all of a sudden there's this class that we heard about that a lot of great storyboard artists have been taking at CSG. I'm not sure if they have it anymore, but Dave Pimentel, former story artist for Disney, taught this fantastic gesture drawing class, and the only supplies were paper and a Sharpie, or at least any kind of marker of your choice. And I remember at the time thinking that those drawings were fantastic, and I could tell that they were quick. I could tell that they were done at least in under 2 minutes. But I felt like, I could do that. And like, honestly, sometimes I would look at it and I'm like, and I wouldn't be that impressed. I'd be like, oh, that looks kind of like chicken scratch, but that's just like a bias thing, just like you said, because exactly when I started doing that and I started doing these exercises with Dave, I really, really appreciated the immediacy of it, how kind of like how much horsepower your mind has to expend to think about composition, what you know about anatomy, gesture, character, attitude, like all of these things all at once, all in 2 minutes. So learning that was a fantastic experience, and like I it's hard to explain the feeling, but when I'm there and there's 2 minutes on the clock, there's a model in front of me, and it's like do or die with one sheet of paper, one drawing with one Sharpie. I really feel like I have to be in a Zen mode where I cannot think about anything at all, really. Not even thinking about, I don't even have time to think about like what I'm drawing a lot of the time, but like I just have to sort of let my instinct take over, I guess is the best way to describe it. But like at the same time, I go through this 2 minute thing, and I swear, like when I'm in it, it feels almost like I'm playing music, because I'm engaging like that improvisational side of my mind. I don't know what it is, but like as soon as it's over, it almost feels like I'm hypnotized and it's over, and then there's the drawing, and then that's when I go like, okay, this is what I did good, this is what I did bad. Next time, in the next 2 minutes or the next 4 minute, 5 minute session, I'm going to work on this. But like, it's never in the moment, in the moment, you have to be in a state where you can't like edit and write at the same time.
You're really in the zone, and you have to be, or otherwise you're going to hesitate and it'll be really heavy handed and ugly. But so one notable thing I want to, tell the story about in school was a lot of our teachers at the time at Art Center, the professors are known to be working professionals. That's it used to be one of the requirements to teach at Art Center. You have to be a working professional, current in whatever industry that you're in, because that's the only way you can properly prepare your students for what to expect. And so a lot of them would bring in their coworkers or their friends from work in order to give lectures and to answer any questions, explain what it's like. And I remember in one class, this storyboard revisionist, I think at the time, was invited to this class, and she explained her job, and she showed us her work. And then usually at the end of this guest lecture, you get to go and talk to them and ask them any questions, and if you want, you can show them your portfolio and they can critique it. So I showed her my storyboard portfolio at the time, and after like barely looking at it, she was like, I would avoid drawing anime and if I were you, because you're not going to get hired. And
whoa,
if you see my drawings back then, they're anime, they have anime styles to it inherently, but I was actively trying to not draw like anime, which is why it threw me for a loop. I was like, in that moment, I was like, okay, at this point, I think I can't help it.
Yeah.
Because I've been actively working against this impulse to draw this certain way, and yet people who never grew up with anime or whatever can just immediately tell that I have it in me. I was trying to draw like Disney. I was trying to draw like this more Western style of drawing that is very popular right now in art school. And I was just, it just kind of like upset me. Because I was like, okay, I can't win either way. If I do, if I don't, even if I don't, it looks like I do. So after that though, I took her critique very seriously, and I was like, okay, I guess I need to like get the fire extinguisher again and try to extinguish that part of me. And I actively worked hard to like draw like a Disney person. And like for those of you who want to work for Disney, it's actually simpler than you think. You just have to be really, really good at drawing in the Disney style. Like it just needs to be in you. So one of the things that I definitely think that got me hired, right, at DreamWorks, actually, like all the studios appreciate if you can draw the Disney style well. But I practiced drawing in Glen Keane's style for like days, weeks, months, until I could nail
this was
it.
when you were still living at home, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I remember.
Yeah.
You'd have Glen Keane drawings littered all over the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was just to get it ingrained in my hand and in my mind. Like, these are the proportions of like a Disney princess. This is what Disney likes to see in terms of grace, and if you're drawing a male character in terms of like masculinity and all these different things. So, yeah, that is an unfortunate experience that I had, because I really liked my drawings.
Yeah.
They were charming. And now, I think I have to kind of reverse all of this stuff of like extinguishing all my individuality through art school and everyone telling me that my style is not marketable or whatever. Now that you're like, to be an independent artist is a completely different thing, which we'll talk about later. But what was your college experience in terms of like art style and that kind of thing?
Oh my God. I like, do you have a book and a writer and a publisher? No, I mean, like, it's I don't know. I felt like I went through so many different phases in art school, and I think that's fantastic. I think the college experience is supposed to be trying on as many different lenses as possible, you know?
Yeah.
So for me, so I got into art school, and the drawings that I was doing the most was stuff like, I guess, video game art and anime, kind of,
Yeah.
but mostly kind of video game art. But then when I got into school, I fell in love with all of my illustration classes. It was very seductive, because like the illustration department is similar to the entertainment department, whereas in like they constantly like, one of us, I want you to be one of us. But they're a little bit more libertarian about it. They're a little bit more like, if you want to be a Hollywood toady, fine, go ahead. I'm not gonna fucking like convince you to be an illustrator. You clearly don't have the stuff to be an illustrator. You clearly want to work for the man.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I was really, really into that look. I was really into using ink. So like I said, when I took this illustration class, it was fantastic. I also took several classes that encouraged me to use ink, as like FW acrylic ink on like BFK Reeves paper, which is like the Cadillac of papers.
Yeah.
It's so great. Yeah. So the first thing that I got really into was that Illustrator look, and I swear I was almost going to become like a comic book person, because like almost everything I did in first and second term, if it wasn't, drawing on bond paper or newsprint for foundational stuff, it was mostly like me working in pen and ink and being an illustrator, composing things. and drawing them in pen and ink. And then I was like really, really in love with it. But there's also a big side of me, like a huge side of me that loves movies, that loves Hollywood. I mean, I was raised here. I like I mentioned before, I feel like I mentioned this lady in almost every episode, but like the lady my mom used to take care of, she used to buy these VHS tapes of Jurassic Park, E.T., Star Wars, Forrest Gump. Like she'd get me all these amazing movies, and I love that art form the most. I love movies, and like so when I saw like How to Train Your Dragon, and I finally had those classes where they encouraged you, the entertainment classes, like I was in love. I was like, oh, okay, so that path I was about to be on, I was about to be a comic book illustrator person.
Yeah.
And that was neat. But I'm looking at this side and I'm like, I could be a DreamWorks artist.
Yeah.
Or working in animation, which is what I've always loved. Like growing up, we grew up in the time of Pixar versus DreamWorks.
Yeah.
It was such a great time. So I just, like, I would dream about being a part of that. I'd look at the special features and look at the behind the scenes making, watch the director's commentary on these Finding Nemo movie, like Finding Nemo, Incredibles, Shrek, all this stuff. And I'm really inundated in that stuff too. So as soon as that track made sense, as I saw that, like, oh, it's going to teach you how to do characters, it's going to teach you how to draw the backgrounds, it's going to teach you how to paint this stuff, I was on board.
Yeah.
I was so on board. I was like, let's go. So, I did draw all the Chris Sanders stuff. I did draw the Rod Guenedon stuff. I did draw tons of Glenn Keane, all that stuff for school.
Yeah.
And I still, and this is the sad part, and this is how I'm a bitch that needs to work in animation. I still feel like I need to practice that. I'm already in animation. I still feel like, I still think sometimes I think, I should really take some time and practice some Glenn Keane. Like, just because. So that's where I'm at now is like, I don't know. Like where I'm at now is like, I kind of, I'm flexing everything. I'm just trying to be as creative as possible, making, photography, filmmaking stuff with you, or these podcasts, or drawing for myself or for work, or writing or playing guitar. I'm just trying to be as creative as possible, and that's my style right now. I don't know.
Yeah, so we talked about college,
right.
And then now we can talk about how art style transitions into like the workplace,
right.
Because we all want to make money. That's why we're here, right? That's why you listen to this podcast, right? You want to make money with your art. And so how we ended up doing it, you still do it, is to work in animation, and now I'm trying to do like be my own independent artist. And so for you, I already know the answer to this, but like for you, is having like a very specific art style in animation even necessary?
No, absolutely not. In fact, I encourage you not to, if you're going to, so I think we're going to talk about this later, but I think it's really, really important to have a style if you're your own comic book person, if you're your own illustrator, if people are seeking out your look to design their albums or a mural or whatever it is. I think it's really, really important to have a style for those avenues of art. If you're in like if you're doing what is it, like news, like New York, editorial stuff. Yeah, if you want to do all that stuff, it's like I think it's really important to have a style. But when you want to work in animation and corporate work, I think it's very, very important to learn how to reverse engineer styles.
Yeah.
You need to be able to look at something and break down, like, how does that work? If you really want to know how to think about this stuff, I highly recommend taking Bill Perkinson's animation for cinematography class, which you can take at New Masters Academy. Get the link below for a free 7-day trial, because he does a great job, and I don't want to butcher it. And it's such heavy information about like how to break down a style. Art Center already taught us that very well, but like I feel like this class, like Bill Perkins especially, has a great way of breaking everything down to its essence. And you want to be able to do that. And the reason being is that if you want to stay in animation, like we've said so many times before, your best bet is you're going to be on a show for at least 9 months.
Yeah.
And then you have to find another show.
Yeah. It's very rare that you get on a show that has like 9 seasons or whatever.
Yeah. Like the longest time you've been on a show is probably for a year, right? A year and a half.
A year. Yeah, a year and a half.
Yeah. So that's the longest it's tough because you're constantly trying to adapt to work, and you're constantly trying to adapt to different styles. So I feel like if you were hung up on a style, it's only crippling to you, especially if you work in something like TV animation when you're constantly just like under the gun all the time. There's no room for you to make too many mistakes or to even analyze for too long. It's
definitely like, I think animation is where the jack of all trades shine the most, because if you can draw in whatever style, you're gonna be hired for longer, most likely. But at the same time, what comes with being a jack of all trades is you don't really have your own personal style. And
that's how I feel. I really don't feel like I have a personal style, nor that I feel like I want to, because I love my ability to look at something and break it down and be like, oh, I can do that. It's really neat. It's like a superpower, and it's only because we've been taught a certain way to think about things in that way. So, I feel like I have the way I draw, you know?
Yeah.
But I would hesitate to call it my style, because I wouldn't say that it's the best reflection of me personally. I don't know.
Yeah, because we're all still growing. We're still also like...
I would never say like right here, right now is where I'm at and this is my style. Like, no way.
This is my style.
I feel like I'm miles, like I'm not even there yet.
Like for me, like currently...
And I'm a working professional. I feel like I could do so much better.
Yeah, every time you pump out a drawing, the immediate feeling that you normally have is, I could do better next time.
Yeah.
This isn't...
Like, I like you're lucky I only had a day or like 2 hours. But then, like, if I had a whole week, would it have been better? I don't know. Because, like, always, at least, like, a month from the time I drew, I always look back and go, like, what the hell is that? Did I draw that? What is that? So, and I think that's really good, because then that only means that you're growing. So if you're looking back at your drawings and it's only been a month and you're already like, oh my God, kill it with fire. I think it's really, really good.
That's really actually, it means you're growing at a fast pace if you feel that way. But there are certain roles that I think it does help to have your own style. And I think you can explain it better than I can, because I didn't work as a designer at all that much.
Rules in order to have your own style?
Oh, sorry. I think I said it wrong.
What?
There are roles? Roles, like character designer and like it.
It would behoove you to have your especially a character designer. You would need to have your own style, or at least nail a style that is, popular or in vogue, the zeitgeist, whatever it is. Because a lot of the time when you're character designing for a show, it's the look of the show. The character design, that design spills into everything, even the prop design, to be honest. So like the character designer needs to have like a very strong voice. They can't be like wishy-washy about they have to have like they have to have conviction in their style. Like look at Rick and Morty. Look at Ed and Eddie, the wobbly like that wobbly look. Like just like from the characters to the props, even the back, like sometimes the backgrounds, like that style spills into everything.
I really think it starts with the character design. It informs everything else. Like for example, if you guys don't already know, Nico Marley is one of the many character designers for How to Train Your Dragon, but he was referenced the most in my opinion. And if you look at his designs, it really translated into like the way the entire movie looked. And then to like a smaller scale, like our fellow YouTuber Steven Silver, Kim Possible, like that's such a specific style, and like I don't like it. Character designs really kind of make or break animated TV shows and movies. So it does, like, I know a lot of shows will actually freelance out because they want a very specific style from a very specific person, and they'll hire that person to design the characters for that show, so that the rest of the show, the rest of the art direction is built upon, like, basically this one person's, like, art style. So that's when art style is kind of important. If you want to be a character designer, it's kind of important. But it's also, it's tough.
Yeah.
I can't imagine being a character designer.
Like, oh my gosh. Like, there's a lot of selective jobs already in animation. And I feel like there are only, you could count in one, like, maybe in the palm of your hand, how many character designers are engaged and working. You know?
And this is like hand selected from all around the world, and people came here to, like, there's something else. But that's animation. In a lot of other art fields, I don't think that's the case. Like, I think the more independent you become and the more of a freelancer you are, the more it is kind of important for you to have your own style. Like, if you want to illustrate book covers or children's books or comics even, or so the same way, like, a lot of advertising agencies do the same thing, where they will freelance out artists because they want a specific look from a specific person, and they're going to hire that person for freelance. So when you are a freelancer, or you are an independent artist or fine artist or whatever, I think that's where it's pretty important to have your own voice, which, as someone that came from the world of animation, I am really struggling with that. I've always really struggled with that, honestly. I never felt like I had a style. I still don't think I have a style. And I have a style depending on the kind of work that I do. So, for example, if I'm doing My Hero fan art, it's gonna look a certain way. But if I'm doing like DC Marvel fan art, actually, it can look completely different. And then there's the way I draw for animation, which is completely different too. Which I don't know how familiar people are with my work, but, like, I feel like I'm more like a jack of all trades too.
So what are you currently interested in now? Like, where are you at right now?
So right now, I'm honestly, I'm getting a little bit, like, not tired of, but just I need some more variety. Other than just constantly doing, like, My Hero fan art and commissions for My Hero lovers. Every time I do too much of any one thing, I want to do something else, something different, just for variety, for my own creative sake. So right now, I am really actually interested in different illustrators' styles, more like editorial illustration, things that I want to say are, like, ugly pretty. Like, I'm really fascinated by things that are beautiful to look at, but have this edge to it, that it's not necessarily just a pretty girl or just a, like, very aesthetically pleasing thing, because that's simply, you can't get away with that in animation. There are certain styles that are popular in animation, and you're just kind of forced to draw like that when you work in it. I felt like I was so restricted to what even in my personal work, like, you can't get away with it when that's all you're doing for, like, 40 hours a week. It's really hard to break out of that mold. And that's what I'm trying to do now. And you throw in this, like, art style spreads its fingers to all creative things. So, like, there's a style in filmmaking too. Like, every director that you can think of who's, like, a notable director has a style, whether they know it or not. And like we can't see it, we can't critique it, we can't really say what our own styles are ever, really. So, like, we've been listening and watching Masterclass, and what you'll realize is, like, us dinguses, we sound like we don't know what we're talking about. And then you realize, oh, Scorsese, Spike Lee, Jodie Foster, all these great directors all also are like, I don't know how I don't know.
I only know my way of doing it.
I only know my way of doing it.
So I'm going to teach you my way of doing it, but I don't know how anybody else does it.
I don't think I have a style, but I guess.
But if you think I have one, that's great.
Yeah.
I guess. and that's the thing. And I think what's so fantastic about those artists is that they're constantly searching and they've accepted that this is how I do things, and for better or for worse, this is what adds character and a style to this art. You know?
Yeah. So I'm constantly searching for like styles that I want to adopt for like YouTube videos and little movies that we make on IGTV or YouTube or TikTok or whatever. So it's such a I just need to be patient. I just need to like grow my own like art, like drawing art style, and then also my filmmaking art style. That's what I'm interested in, just learning. And some days it's harder, some days it's easier. Some days I like what I do, sometimes I completely hate what I do, or I just miss the mark completely. But I think that's just the nature of this idea of an art style. Yeah. What about you? What are you interested in terms of art style?
I'm not interested in art style.
Yeah, you're just like, I'm gonna be a good employee.
Yeah, no, well, not only that, like outside of that, like there's always gonna be something like that, unless like I don't work for animation anymore. But when I'm not, I'm at this point in my life where I like learning. I like to watch tons of movies. I like to read about movies or whatever I'm interested in, and I like to play guitar. And I just feel like, especially now that I'm 29, saying goodbye to my 20s, I want to just like take it all in, and then like maybe this new chapter, my 30s, I don't know, I'll take things a little bit more seriously again. But I took a lot of things plenty seriously, especially trying to get where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
So I think I love this phase I'm at, where like I can look back and be like, okay, I accomplished a few things. I can take this breather right before into this next phase of my life. This decade of life. So I'm going to read. I'm just going to take it all in. I'm going to enjoy every day. And then, I don't know, especially, and I want to be hungry too. Like I want to be hungry to draw. I don't want to just force myself. I want to feel like I need to do it again. And there was also a point of my life where I kind of felt like this, like at school, like in the middle of art center, like I was really getting really fatigued. And it was the first time I took a term off, which really helped recharge my batteries. And because I work every day, I can't recharge my batteries as much as I'd like, and I can't be as hungry to draw as much as I'd like, draw what I want as much as I want to, because I have to do it for work. So what I do is I just try to learn as much as I can, and if I feel like I need to express myself, there are other ways. I could write, I could play guitar, I could do a lot of stuff, and that's where I'm at in my life.
That's, I think, where a lot of working professionals are. I
talked to them, like I talked to a lot of them. They're kind of at the same place.
Yeah, it's actually really sad, because you really don't realize how good you have it when you're in either high school or college and you're in your learning phase. You have all the time in the world to really focus on your craft. And then you start working, and a lot of ways the joy is sucked out of it a little bit. For me, a lot bit, which is why I left. So I hope that help any of you struggling with this idea of art style. And if you like the podcast, please drop a like here, there. I don't know.
Here.
I still haven't figured it out.
I don't know.
But drop us a like. Comment down below if you have future podcast topics. I am wearing the fight shirt today. If you'd like to support us, check out our store at honeyandabsinthe.com, and check out Honey and Absinthe on TikTok and Instagram. Follow us on all the platforms and YouTube. And you can listen to this podcast everywhere where you find podcasts. So YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, I think. And we'll see you next one.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.